we start off by you, Raina, telling us a little bit more about who you are and what you do.
I'm Raina Simpson. I'm Group Chief Executive at Agincare, and we have a range of services, so quite a diverse range for social care, really. So we have care homes ranging in size from registered for 20 up to kind of 88. We have live-in care across the country, providing kind of one-to-one 24-hour live-in care. We have numerous different types of home care services, extra care schemes, supported living, respite and daycare services, and a training company as well. So quite diverse and across the country, based down here, beautiful Portland, Dorset coast, but going right up to kind of Harrogate and across the country, and with nearly 4,000 team members now. So yeah, and I suppose my job ultimately is to provide leadership and the vision, mission, values of the organisation and objectives that we agree on and take it forward. And I'm nominated individual for CQC across all of our services. So absolutely that leadership in terms of quality and workforce and being there for the people that draw on our services.
That's wonderful. Thank you. So if I was going to float the question, which I am going to, about this growth of the group from 4 million per year to 90 million since you've been at the helm, Raina. How do you do it? What are the key elements to get there?
I think when I joined, as you mentioned, we were a much smaller organisation, kind of a startup phase, and it's about teamwork. It stays about teamwork the whole way through. It's not about any one individual. So it's at the start, it was very much a few of us in a kind of couple of rooms doing everything that you had to do. So whether it was operational management, training, commercial bid writing, presentations, on call, going out there, doing training and things. So you really were doing every aspect of the role of running a care organisation. And then as you grow and you develop, you obviously you can afford to appoint other people to do things and be need to, because there's so much to get through. So along the way, I think it's always that keeping people at the heart of it, both our workforce and the people that draw on the services and their families, getting the right people around you with a real passion for what you do and a belief in your values and what you do. And I think for Agincare, that's particularly important because we are a family-owned business. Our organisation was started by Derek Luckhurst, our chairman and founder, and his three sons work in our organisation with us in different roles. We're here for the future, so we're aiming to be a second generation, pass the baton on. And I think as we've grown and gone through big changes in the sector, there's a lot of different models of organisation out there, and our organisational model isn't for everybody. So it's finding that right alignment with people who have got the same kind of vision as you about the kind of organisation they want to work for, the longevity. We're always, we're ambitious, so we're growing, so it's quite fast paced. We've got as I said earlier, a very diverse range of services. And although we focus on specialism and bringing in specialist people with the right background and knowledge to focus and deliver quality services in different types. So, someone's experience in care homes is different from someone's experience in home care, is different from working with younger adults with autism or learning disability, for instance. So we want to make sure we bring in those skills and people aren't too generic, even though our support functions provide services across all of our different operations. So I think you want them to be here amidst something that's exciting, that's fluid, that's growing, that they can influence, that isn't an equity-backed, big corporate structure. We haven't got some of the resources that those structures bring. It's a different style. So I think it's getting the people that are passionate around you, teamwork, vision, having really confident, clear idea of who you are as an organisation, who you are as people within that, and that shared.
Yeah. And over the years, has that vision, those values, have they changed and modified as you've grown as an operator, or has there been a kind of steady value that you feel has gone all the way through? Has that vision and values been modified over the years?
I don't think think they have really. I mean, we've reviewed them, but actually we were commenting that really you review every time you kind of have a different division, because we've got quite a lot of different companies now, because they've each got their own contracts and risks and people and specialisms, but they're all linked. So we review everything every year, our vision, mission, values. We review what we're doing. Do we still believe in them? Are they still fit for purpose? And we haven't actually changed them that much in all that time. And I think it's because, the essence of who we are, we've always been quite solid in what we want to achieve. And we've always been quite solid, I think, in not being very aware of what's going on around us, there are what other people are doing, but not slaves to it. So we're not following just because others are. We're saying, is that right for us? Is that something we should or could be doing? We could be doing it. Is it right? Is it us? And sometimes that means that we don't always grow as fast as other people, but actually that's because we've got a very conservative approach to borrowing. We've never carried much debt. We don't tend to buy stuff. We obviously buy care homes, but we don't in dom care and living care and other things. We've been organically grown and contract wins rather than buying other organizations. So those things sometimes make you feel like you're at odds with other people, but I think that sense of self as an organization is really.
I see. And when you have grown over these years, can you in your own mind, Raina, think of like pivotal moments, whether they be growing a leadership team or particular hires? Are there kind of key moments over those years that you feel have been a kind of like a landmark that you felt you needed to get over in order to enable you to get to where you are now?
I mean, absolutely. So too many to kind of name. I mean, I think over this kind of time period and going through the growth we do, you ultimately do quicker than you'd like sometimes get to step changes that you need to make within the organisation around whether it's skill set, whether it's additional resource, whether it's system change, IT, premises. So there are definitely those periods where you go, actually, this needs to refresh and renew. We need to do something different, or we need to invest in something this year really heavily, because what we've got isn't going to sustain us for the next 3 to 5 years. And there are those key people. If I sit here and look at Agincare's success, I can't separate that from the people that have joined us along the way and contributed to that. And there's just too many people that have joined us and thankfully stayed with us and contributed and grown. People like Sarah, our Chief Operating Officer in Agincare Group, and more latterly also in Agincare Support Group, has been alongside us for 13 years, and other directors have started with us in different roles and grown. And so it's just the people help that all the time. There's just too many of them
I understand. And that's great. And on this question of the people and the importance of your people, what do you feel it is what's the essence, I guess, within Agincare that makes people stay and want to stay and evidently feel rewarded and to stay with you? What do you feel is the kind of essence that you have?
It's difficult now. I mean, because we have other people that don't, obviously, but we have got a really solid and high level of long-standing team members. And I think what people tell us is it's that sense of family. It is a sense of it's more than just a job. Although there's an increasing amount of directors and senior management team, and my role and my interaction with people is very different. We are still a very personal organisation, and people have access to me, to Derek, to other directors in a way that maybe other organisations it's a bit more distant. I think there's a synergy across us. We work together very closely, so hopefully people, although we're all very different characters, quite rightly so, we've got that sense of self as an organisation and shared vision, and I think that gives people that consistency. They feel that we care. I think that's really just the most important thing in our sector. It sounds stupid and obvious, but it's not. People have to believe that we care about what we do, and I think our team know and believe we do. and they know and believe that we care about them, even if sometimes we can't do as much as we'd like for their terms and conditions, and we know it feels like a stuck record, that we'd like to do more. But I think they trust and believe that, and they know that we're always developing and evolving, and we don't always get it right all the time. Sometimes we, run before we can walk with things, and it's very busy for everybody and places pressure. But yeah, so I think there's an excitement, there's a belief, there's a trust, and there's a feeling of belonging that sometimes people don't get in other organisations that maybe are structured differently.
Yeah, I mean, of course, that has to be built, that sense of belonging and everything. It doesn't come from nowhere. It does, have to be built. And, speaking to the one or two operators that are growing, that is absolutely a premium asset to have. And you've really knocked it on the head in terms of conveying how important that element is. I'd like to come on to the finances and the borrowing and, growth, because it takes some audacity to want to grow and to have some borrowing. You say you do it conservatively. Yeah, I mean, of course, that has to be built, that sense of belonging and everything. It doesn't come from nowhere. It does, have to be built. And, speaking to the one or two operators, that what have you learned in terms of what are the things to be bearing in mind, and what do you have to be careful about? What are maybe some of the hurdles you've come across in bringing on new services and growing as you have? Are there any particular things that you've learned along the way, and things that came that are unexpected, for example?
There's a lot of questions there. Well, first of all, growth is great, but it's not always profitable. And if it's not profitable, then you're putting at risk the delivery of services to people that are really relying on it and your workforce. So I think it's about knowing when to grow and to seize opportunity, and knowing when to walk away and say someone else might be able to do it at this price or contract price or whatever, but actually we don't think we can. And I think our model of organisation again places us in a different position sometimes from organisations that maybe have got a more buy and build model constructed or are backed by private equity investors with a different kind of agenda. And so I think for us it's that, look at growth. Growth is great. We love growth. We're ambitious in our growth and development, but it has to be sustainable, and we can take risks to try and do something we believe in long term, and we can invest in something, but you can't spread yourself too thin on that. You have to be careful. You can't lose sight of the detail. And I think certainly for me, as our organisation has grown and gets bigger, it's that making sure that all the layers of people that are in really key positions every day understand the impact that they can make on cost control, on how hard earned every penny that comes into an organisation that delivers care services is, and what that means. Respect for that. People are out there working really, really hard, delivering care, and actually to squander what then we're being paid for that care delivery is not good. So really thinking about how is that best spent on investment, on future growth? What do we need to do now? What do you need to build up for the future? What if something happens? Are you going to crumble? Because that's no good for people who draw on your services or for your workforce. So and getting that sense out there across an organisation as you get bigger, and keeping that sense of urgency and is a challenge, so I mean, certainly care isn't, both from local authorities as commissioners, and generally people don't really understand the construct of what it costs to deliver care. It's a very blunt, often it's, people are paid this and poor care workers are paid this. And people aren't really aware of what it costs around that. And that's a really difficult and quite sensitive at times, challenging conversation to have and to engage on. So I think we need to be more open and honest about that. And so that's always a challenge. And it's always a challenge growing, walking away from make-or-be contracts with local authorities that just simply aren't paying enough. And we've got a lot of challenges coming up with commissioned care from local authorities and CCGs in the coming year, as every year really. But yeah, there's always lessons to be learned along the way.
Yeah. Yeah, of course, very interesting. And what comes to mind as well on these the challenges. Obviously, COVID is the biggest one of the lot, I guess, for the care sector.
Yeah.
And then we've got the recruitment issues now. Let me put this first question to you. The challenges and at best and the terror at worst around the COVID pandemic. What have you learned as leading Agincare through that particular period? What do you feel that you've gained and learned from where we're up to now with the COVID?
I think probably the biggest lessons learned we've had are around communication and just the need to really be communicating constantly with our workforce and people that draw on our services, their families, just trying to keep that communication up, let people know what we're doing, let people be honest about what we can do, what we can't do, why we can't do some things, listen to people, make sure there's lots of different channels, health and well-being stuff. So I think really that feeling, and I think we felt like our support functions and our operations teams come closer as one team with a shared aim. Sometimes they can be a bit disconnected over time. I think that, and I mean, I know people, there's a lot of negativity now about the word resilience, because why should people have to be resilient and stuff? But I think, more than anything, it just did teach about human resilience and how people crack on and get on with things, and how amazing people in social care generally are at being tremendously practical and getting on and getting through the day in the absence of government guidance. We all kind of pull together and get things done, and that sense of team spirit and togetherness amidst all the, as you say, real anguish and worry, real heartache along the way, has been very strengthening. But it's undoubtedly also been exhausting for people and broken some people to the degree where they just need a break from care.
Yeah, very interesting. Thank you. And curious to know, obviously we've had the pandemic, couldn't have got really much worse than that for the care sector. But like where we are right now, we are middle of March 2022. What's the biggest kind of thing that's on your minds as CEO for the next kind of problem, if you like, for you to kind of resolve or start to resolve?
We're not out of COVID yet. I mean, we might be living with COVID everywhere else, but it's certainly still having a huge impact on social care and the people that work within it and the people that need social care services. So huge impact there. So that's not by any means done. That then has a knock-on effect to resourcing, recruitment, retention, workforce well-being, costs of care around national minimum wage, around fuel, around cost of living, just so many issues for the sector and for our workforce. Issues around, funding and commissioning care, not enough money in the pot really, and how does that affect what we do going forward? Utility prices for our care home side of things is quite frankly just frightening. So yeah, there's a huge amount of challenges at the moment, and that's on the backdrop of everybody feeling quite weary still from what has been an incredibly emotional, difficult 2 years, and physically very draining for people. So yeah, I mean, we are possibly in a worse position now in some ways, because it's
hard
over some of the adrenaline, the rush, and everything's different now. It's supposed to be back to the business as usual, as it were, as people keep saying, but it's not for social care. There are some big challenges, and I think for us within that, no good if we just sit in a corner being doomy and gloomy all the time, is trying to say, actually, look at all these positive things that are happening every day. Look at these things that we are achieving. Look at these things that are there for us to achieve together. Look at these careers you can have in social care. Look at the rewards and the enjoyment that you can get from social care and doing something. But we've also got to be realistic about the challenging environment that is all in.
Yeah, no, sure, absolutely makes sense. Thank you very much. And I mean, this is very, very informative and interesting for anyone listening. But you, Raina, you started off as a care worker yourself, that's correct. And now you are the CEO of Agincare. So for those listening, what's quite a career progression. Tell us about how you started in care and how you got to where you are now, and why do you think you have managed to get to where you are now?
Okay, so I started in direct care. I was going to go to uni originally from college and do social policy. So I was already, through lived experience, interested in social care, but I truanted quite a lot, didn't really get a lot out of school, ended up then taking a nannying job and going off to America, came back and stayed working, got a job at a local hospital because I wanted to do some care work, home from hospital team, and then that was it really. I was hooked and stayed working, did care work in hospitals, nursing homes, care homes, people's own homes, night shifts, day shifts, cleaning, shopping, care, and then went for a job as social work assistant, got a job as social work assistant with the council, and went from there, did my social work qualifications. So I worked, and then they seconded me to do that. So you did kind of part-time, and then did my masters in my own time in the evening after that. I think because I truanted a lot and hadn't done that well at school, I wanted to prove that I had an interest and could do it. And then, social work for a while, then regulation for a few years because I was quite interested in central government and policy. And then the opportunity with Agincare came up, and it was just something kind of felt right, and that felt that I could go back and do social work, I could go back and do care, but actually it was an opportunity. And, I was lucky Derek saw, something in me that he thought would be good for the organisation at that time. And I saw something in that as an opportunity to make a difference and use my skills and qualifications in a different way outside of, in the independent sector, having been in central government and local authorities. So and then that's it really, and just then do whatever needs to be done to get through the day, and being lucky enough, as I said, to find and work with great people along the way, and form something that just evolves, and you don't think about it really, it just happens around you. And so here you are. So I'd say, it's a great, to me, care is great. Agincare is full of people that have had great career stories, started, and they're operations directors now, they're managing directors in our subsidiary companies, they're ops managers, they're trainers, they're quality, they're HR, they're accountants sometimes. The pathways are so diverse, and that's what I love about care. It's so much more multidimensional than people think, and there's so many career opportunities. And if you want to be the best that you want to be at any of those roles, whether it's a care worker, direct care worker, or whether it's a group CEO, that you can do it.
That's fascinating and very, very inspiring, I think, to anyone listening. Absolutely. And I'm curious to know, Raina, where you've learned, where have you learned the attributes required to grow Agincare, to lead a team, to be, a CEO, to manage? Have you learned it like on the job, or have you had people who've been mentors or guides? Or I'm curious to know how you've learned, essentially.
I think you just learn all the time. You never stop, do you? And I think it's wrong if you do. So I'd say everybody along, team managers back when I was a social worker, when I was a regulatory inspector, learn things that people did or said then I still carry with me today. Certainly working with Derek as a entrepreneur and a kind of more business type, our skills have been very complementary. Everyone that's joined, even if people have come and not stayed, have usually learned something. And sometimes there's things you think, I never want to be like that or do that, and other times it's actually, I really love the way they do that, how can I mirror that? But I think more than anything, this is what I always say to us, being yourself. I've been incredibly lucky to find I suppose social care for me fitted my natural strengths, and therefore I came in it. I loved it. I enjoyed it. I wanted to be good at it. And that has led to a development in it. And I think if you're doing something that plays to your natural strengths, then you're probably going to be more successful at it in terms of career development, if you want that. So I think it's about a bit like I'm saying with Agincare, really having a strong sense of self and not going for something because you want the status or the title or the money or that it's about, do you believe in it? Do you believe in what you're doing? Do you believe you can support others in it and make a difference? And I don't think that making a difference to me hasn't, I would, it was important to me when I was a care worker, it was important to me when I was a social worker, it was important to me as an inspector, and it's important to me now. And so I think it's probably being genuine, and that doesn't mean you're brilliant all the time. It means you've got strengths and weaknesses like everybody else, and you use your team around you, and you watch people develop, and you try and get people around you who are, brilliant and better and complementary skills to each other.
Yeah, absolutely fascinating. And I think that you've used the words, but this authenticity, I guess, is another word you can describe.
Yeah, that sounds much more professional.
I was choosing a word you didn't use, since you gave, but that's wonderful. Is there anything that we've not covered that you feel you'd like to convey or say?
I don't think so. I think it's that conflict from, earlier on. It's social care is a brilliant place and offers so many opportunities and so many strengths and so many amazing people. And it's how do we, promote that and support that and shout about it, while also juggling the fact that actually there are a lot of challenges that make delivering running an organisation, whether you're independent, private, whether you're not-for-profit charity, whether you're in local authority, that it's difficult. And there are some fundamentals that we need to do better in society about seeing social care and the worth it has in society, more than just this kind of, it's there to get people out of hospital and it's really difficult and everyone's underpaid. And so it's celebrate social care and what it can offer and give.
Wonderful. Now, Raina, finally, if anyone wants to get in touch with you, how can they best do that?
So you can go on my Twitter feed at Agincare. You can go on one of our many social media channels that we have at Agincare, and someone will pop you in contact with me, or you can email me, and I'm sure you can pop the email address.
Perfect. Raina Summerson, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you for asking, Adam. Thank you.
Now, is there anything that we've not covered that you feel you'd like to convey or say?
I don't think so. I think it's that conflict from, earlier on. It's social care is a brilliant place and offers so many opportunities and so many strengths and so many amazing people. And it's how do we, promote that and support that and shout about it, while also juggling the fact that actually there are a lot of challenges that make delivering running an organisation, whether you're independent, private, whether you're not-for-profit charity, whether you're in local authority, that it's difficult. And there are some fundamentals that we need to do better in society about seeing social care and the worth it has in society, more than just this kind of, it's there to get people out of hospital and it's really difficult and everyone's underpaid. And so it's celebrate social care and what it can offer and give.
Wonderful. Now, Raina, finally, if anyone wants to get in touch with you, how can they best do that?
So you can go on my Twitter feed at Agincare. You can go on one of our many social media channels that we have at Agincare, and someone will pop you in contact with me, or you can email me, and I'm sure you can pop the email address.
Perfect. Raina Summerson, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you for asking, Adam. Thank you.